Hey y'all, welcome back to a very special episode of Smoke Break with Infamous Sam, where I teach you my own personal spins on a lot of barbecue classics, smoking meats, grilling, and general cooking recipes. Today, we are cooking indoors for once, and why that is, we are located at beautiful Sugar Bear Cabin in Cold Springs, California. Clearly snowing outside, so not a good day to barbecue or smoke. However, what better dish to have when it's cold weather? We're doing some chili tonight. I'm gonna take you step by step on what I put in this chili. It'll be about 3.5 hours at most to cook it down. I'll show you the process. And also one last thing, I wanna give a shout out to Renee Venegas for letting us occupy this cabin. She's a family relative of ours. If you're interested in Airbnbs in the Cold Springs area, hit her up, she'll take care of you. This is a beautiful location to get away for a few days, get out of your comfort zone from the work routine or whatever you do on a daily basis. So we're having fun out here. Without further ado, let's fire it. Real quick, I'm gonna do a rough chop of this onion. You gotta have onions in a chili. Everything else is pretty much canned rotel, the fire roasted. Also got crushed tomatoes with garlic. Kidney beans, I got 2 cans of those. Beef broth will be last. Seasonings, of course, you gotta season it up however you feel comfortable. But let's do the rough chop real quick after I take a sip of this delicious beer. You don't gotta get too crazy with the onion. Just do a quick rough chop. And in case you didn't know, a lot of people tend to cut the root off. I actually didn't even know this until recently. If you keep the root on, it prevents you from crying. That's what causes you to cry when you cut an onion, is a lot of people chop the root off, including myself. So up until recently, I just learned that. Thank you, Gordon Ramsay. And YouTube, by the way. Put those in a bowl. They're all gonna cook down with the chili. Chop up 1 whole onion. I have another onion, in the fridge that we're gonna chop up and finely dice to top. The kids are gonna make Frito boats. I'm also gonna make some Red Lobster cheddar biscuits. I'm sure y'all have had that before. Put those in the little bowl. And I'll be back in a bit to show you the rest. So one of the first steps is you gotta brown your sausage. I'm using mild Italian bulk JNR natural meat sausage. This actually came from a pig we once had on the property, which eventually, unfortunately, had to be butchered. But we're making good use out of the buddy. So make sure you brown it. I'm gonna season it with garlic powder. The Kinder's red garlic jalapeno rub. You probably saw me use this on the tri-tip in the previous episode. This is very good. It's gonna bring a little heat to the dish. Sausage. I like to go heavy. I'm just going to brown this up a little bit. Because it will continue to cook down once we get the chili assembled in the pot, which will be right over there. Hey, how we doing, buddy? You good? I'm gonna let this brown up for a second. I'm gonna throw the other package in there. Continue sipping on my beer. And we'll be back in a bit when we start assembling this chili. All right, so I finally browned the sausage with a little bit of onion, seasoned it with Kinder's, red garlic, jalapeno rub, garlic powder, parsley. Let's assemble this chili real quick so I can throw it on the stove. It's gonna take at least 3.5 hours, at most 4, depending on the heat source. But first we're gonna start off with the 2 cans of fire roasted rotel. Very popular, just dump that all on there. Gotta have some type of tomato in the chili. Same thing with these, a diced tomato with garlic. If you wanna get a close up of this. Next, the chopped onions that we roughly chopped at the beginning. Season it, I'm gonna season it with some cumin. You gotta have those flavors in your chili. I like to go heavy with that. I also brought the Traeger beef rub. Has a nice little kick to it as well. And then you're gonna fold in the sausage. It's been sitting out for about 10-15 minutes. We just browned it on the stove. And I put it on the paper towel because you don't want all the excess juices on there. It's just a big mess. And hold on one second. All we're gonna do is fold this in real quick before we add the beef broth, which will be the last. Want to nicely incorporate everything in there so those flavors get working. I mean, it's chili. You're gonna cook this down and create beautiful flavors in it. I usually take about 3.5 hours though. That's usually the mark. The beans, I wait till about the last hour because you don't want to overcook your beans where they turn into mush. You still want some texture in those beans. That's why I wait till the last hour to let those cook down. Get that all incorporated. Finally, beef broth, the foundation of your chili. There we go. Continue to fold that in just a little bit more. Now, I know a lot of people like you can use some ground beef, you can use some leftover tri-tip or like some chuck roast that you have the night prior. Any type of meat really that you cube up, it'll go great in chili. What this channel is all about is making these recipes your own, so don't be afraid. Real quick, I'm gonna add a little more cumin into this. One last stir. And this is what it looks like so far. It's gonna look a lot better when it has hours and hours to cook down, really absorb all that flavor, thicken up a little bit. Plus when we add the beans, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna make Frito boats out of this, the Red Lobster cheddar biscuits like I told you earlier. So I'm gonna put this on the stove, we'll get to cooking, and I'll be back in a bit. I just threw another log on the fire because my feet were getting kind of cold out here. Heating up in the cabin. Normally I'd be outside smoking some meats, grilling on the Weber kettle somewhere, but not today. Slippery when wet, of course, out here in Cold Springs, California. I don't know when y'all had the last opportunity to get out of town, take a little vacation with the family or whatnot, but I suggest you do so. It's just really good for the mind, body, and soul. Of course, let's check on the chili. Chili's been on the stove so far for about 1 hour. I'm gonna give it a quick stir. The smell in this cabin is absolutely amazing. The cumin, the garlic, the rotel, the onions, the sausage, everything is just coming together pretty nicely. Always make sure to stir the chili every hour. Get all those flavors working in. We'll be back in a bit to check on it. Alright guys, so this chili's been on for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I just added the beans about half hour ago, so it's coming along pretty nice. Gonna give it another quick stir. Also, I cooked about 3 or 4 strips of some bacon. I just browned it up in the pan for a little bit, chopped it up, and also mixed that in with a little bit of bacon grease, so it's gonna add a little more flavor. But it is smelling good in this house right now. And we'll pair that with these Red Lobster cheddar bay biscuits. And of course, Frito boats. Alright, this chili is finally done after being on the stove for almost, honestly, 4 hours was the mark. If you want to zoom in on it real quick and see how it's thickened up, we got everything prepared. We're going to make Frito boats. The cheddar biscuits are in the oven right now, so we will assemble in a bit. But let me get a quick taste of this. It's scorching hot, so whenever you eat chili, make sure you blow on it. So good. The flavors, you give it a few hours for these flavors to assemble and just pretty much develop and come together. And this is what you're looking at. And this is, I'm sorry, I burned my tongue. Anyway, this is what we're having for dinner tonight. I appreciate you guys checking me out for another very special episode of Smoke Break here in Cold Springs, California. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel, hit a like button. The dogs are over here looking at me because they're ready to eat, so I think everybody else is too. Hope you all have a great evening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Smoke Break. Take care.